Ozzy's unexpected confession. At 76 years old, Ozzy Osbourne sat in a quiet room, away from the noise of the stage, cameras, and screaming fans. His body has aged, but his eyes still burn with that wild energy. And when the interviewer asked him one simple question, "Who are your favorite women in rock?" even the crew paused. They weren't expecting much. Maybe a few quick names. Maybe a joke. But Ozzy leaned forward and said, "You want honesty? I'll give it to you. These women, they made me who I am." Nobody expected what came next. He didn't name flashy pop stars or modern faces. Instead, Ozzy spoke about women who shaped not just rock music, but his soul. Some were personal friends. Others were rivals. A few he barely knew. But all of them left a scar on his life, in the best way possible. It was quiet in the room. Then Ozzy said, "Let's start with the one I still dream about sometimes. Janis Joplin." That's when the real story began. The ghost of Janis Joplin. Ozzy never met Janis Joplin in person, but her voice haunted him. "I was still in Black Sabbath when I first heard her," he said. Her voice wasn't just singing, it was bleeding, crying, screaming. It sounded like pain and freedom at the same time. He was just a young, confused kid from Birmingham back then. But hearing Janis gave him the feeling that it was okay to be broken. That music didn't need to be perfect, it just had to be real. Ozzy remembered playing "Piece of My Heart" in a tiny hotel room, staring at the ceiling, wondering what she had lived through to sing like that. "She made me feel like I wasn't alone," he said. That's the power of Janis. When she died at just 27, Ozzy felt like he'd lost someone he knew. And even now, decades later, he says, "Sometimes when I sing ballads, I try to feel what she must have felt. I never do it like her. No one can." But Janis wasn't the only ghost Ozzy carried. The next name he shared hit even closer to home and brought back memories of black eyeliner, loud guitars, and a woman who shook the world. The power of Joan Jett. Ozzy grinned when he said her name. Joan Jett. Now, there's a woman who doesn't take crap from anyone. He remembered seeing her play in the early 80s. Small clubs, tight leather, raw power. She walked on stage like she owned the world, he said. Didn't matter if there were 5 people in the crowd or 5,000. She made every chord feel like a punch. Ozzy loved her attitude. She was like the female version of himself, but sharper, meaner, smarter. She didn't try to be one of the boys, he explained. She was the boss. That's even harder. They met backstage once, back in 1984. Ozzy was drunk. She wasn't, but she still made him laugh harder than anyone that night. She told me, "Don't mistake lipstick for weakness." I never forgot that. To Ozzy, Joan Jett didn't just break the rules. She burned the rule book. And in doing so, she inspired a whole new generation, including some of the other women Ozzy would later name. And one of them, he said, once made him cry on stage. The night he cried, Stevie Nicks. "Stevie Nicks," Ozzy whispered. "She's magic. Not the kind of magic with smoke and lights. Real magic. The kind that sneaks up on you and leaves you speechless." Ozzy admitted he never thought he'd like Fleetwood Mac. Too soft, he said. Too dreamy. But then he heard Landslide. "I was on tour," he recalled. Hungover. Angry. That song came on, and I just sat there. Couldn't move. He wiped away a tear and said, "I don't even know why I cried. Maybe because she sang it like she knew every mistake I'd made." They finally met in Los Angeles. She walked into the room like a ghost in boots and velvet. She hugged me. I almost collapsed. Their friendship grew slowly, but deeply. "She's got demons," Ozzy said, "but she dances with them." And when he was at his lowest, during his darkest addiction days, it was Stevie who called him out. She told me, "You're not evil, Ozzy. You just lost. That saved me." He paused and added, "She's one of the few who saw the real me and didn't run away." But the next woman on Ozzy's list? He said she could scare even him. And that's saying something. The fearless queen, Lita Ford. Ozzy leaned back in his chair, and for a moment, he looked like a kid again. "Lita Ford," he said with a smirk. "Now that woman, she could have taken my head off with a guitar." They first worked together in the late 80s, recording the now famous duet "Close My Eyes Forever." What fans didn't know, though, was how chaotic that session really was. "We were both wild," Ozzy said. high, drunk, broken, but the music still came out like fire. He remembered standing in the vocal booth, barely able to keep his balance, and hearing Lita's voice cut through the mix like a blade. She wasn't trying to be cute. She wasn't trying to be sexy. She was commanding. Ozzy had seen thousands of guitarists by then, most of them men, but Lita played like her life depended on it. She could outplay half the guys I toured with, he said, and she knew it. But behind the strength, Ozzy saw something else in Lita: loneliness. She had to be tougher than all of us, he explained, because if she slipped, they would have crushed her. They didn't always get along. In fact, Ozzy admitted they fought during that famous recording. I said something stupid. She didn't yell. She just stared at me. That was worse. Even now, he remembers that look. She didn't need to scream. She already knew who she was. And that scared me. Ozzy paused and smiled. But I respect her more than most people I've met, because she survived in a world that wanted her to fail. Then he laughed and said, and let's be honest, she probably could have beat me in a fist fight back then. But the next name he mentioned, it wasn't someone from his era. It was someone newer, someone who reminded him of everything he used to be. And yes, she's still alive, still dangerous, and Ozzy says she's the future. The new wild child, Amy Lee. Ozzy's voice softened. She's different, he said. Amy Lee. She brings beauty and horror together. He was talking about the Evanescence frontwoman. At first, people were surprised he included her. She wasn't from the 70s. She wasn't a classic rocker. But to Ozzy, she was more than that. The first time I heard Bring Me to Life, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, he said. She made pain sound beautiful. That's not easy. He reached out to her years ago, quietly. No press, no cameras, just a message of respect. I told her, you remind me of me when I still had something to prove. Amy wrote back, thanking him, but also warning him, my demons aren't gone. They're just sleeping. Ozzy grinned. That's how you know she's the real deal. They met once, briefly, at an award show. Ozzy was getting a Lifetime Achievement Trophy. Amy was sitting near the back. She came up after and hugged me. Didn't ask for a photo. Didn't try to impress. Just said, thanks for kicking the door down first. To Ozzy, that meant more than any Grammy. She's not trying to copy anyone, he said. She's writing her own book in blood. And he looked down at his hands, calloused and shaking. I see her, and I remember who I used to be. And I know the flame's still alive in people like her. But there was one name left. One woman who, Ozzy said, held the key to his past, and maybe even his peace. The one who saved his soul, Sharon Osborne. Everyone expected rock stars. But Ozzy's final answer silenced the room. My favorite rock woman? It's my wife, Sharon. He laughed softly. People think they know her. The businesswoman, the manager, the TV star. But Ozzy knows another side. She's the only person who stood by me when I tried to destroy everything. She's the reason I'm alive. He told stories of hotel rooms trashed, ambulances called, courtrooms visited, and Sharon, always there. She doesn't play an instrument. She doesn't sing. But she's the strongest force I've ever met. When Ozzy couldn't walk, she stood. When he couldn't speak, she spoke for him. She is rock and roll, he said. Not because of the music, but because she never gave up on me. And for a man who called the Prince of Darkness, that meant more than any tour, award, or album. She's the reason I still wake up and breathe. The reason I can still say I love music. I love life. He paused, his voice breaking. She's not just my favorite rock woman. She's my everything. And with that, the list was done. But Ozzy wasn't finished. His final words to the next generation. Ozzy looked into the camera. If you're a young girl with a dream, he said, don't let anyone talk you out of it. He named Janice, Joan, Stevie, Lita, Amy, and Sharon. Not because they were perfect, but because they were fearless. They didn't wait for permission, Ozzy said. They took the mic. They owned the stage. They made the world listen. He nodded slowly. If you want to change music, change it. Cry louder. Sing harder. And if the world tries to shut you up, just do what Joan told me. He smiled. Don't mistake lipstick for weakness. And with that, the Prince of Darkness leaned back, closed his eyes, and let the music play.